That's all yours. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for being here. I've always enjoyed getting to hear about all the different things you're doing and excited to get an in-depth version of that today. And I could definitely use more joy and hope. So thanks for what you're doing.
All right, I am excited to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation, David. I've been trying to think of how we even got connected, but Alex knows, and I'm in a lot of different groups and bridging, and so who knows how David and I came across each other, but I'm excited to be here with you. I also wanted to note that Catherine's joining us from Pomona, California. And things that have made her smile or bring joy is being in community for various events with various people that she knows, loves, and respects. So I appreciate that. All right, I am going to share my screen and I'm going to dive in. So my intention is that I will go for about 25 minutes and give some context and some suggestions and ideas. And I'll get more into my intentions also. So okay, so I am presenting thumbs up if you're seeing everything. Okay. All right, so I'm going to get started. So as I said, and this is something that I always ensure that when I'm talking to folks, that they are also embracing this viewpoint, and that is that your intention matters with anything that you are hosting or that you're doing, particularly in the community. And so I'm going to tell you my intentions, and that is that we're going to explore the why of civic joy. I'm going to build some connection and community, and I'm going to showcase some examples of some practices and tools that I have implemented. And then I hope we can actually promote and practice some joy. So I hope we've already started doing that. So, one tool already that I typically do when I'm hosting any sort of gathering of civic minded folks is I'll have post-it notes on the table and I invite everyone to write down one intention for themselves as well. I do that because I don't know how many of you have been to an event. It didn't turn out like you had expected, or you had hoped to do something that then you left and went, ah, I meant to connect with that person, or I really wanted to be more present, or I meant to get that resource. And so that's just one quick tool. I'll have you all just think about it if there's some intention that you might have for this session today. So we live in complicated times. I'm in higher education. I work with 38 campuses who are committed to strengthening democracy, and we are having a lot of challenges right now. There's a loneliness epidemic that we're finding, particularly with young folks, even though in many ways they are the most connected generation of humans that have ever lived and are having the highest levels of loneliness. They're finding that a lot of that has to do with technology and being so connected and being disconnected from relationships and with community. Obviously, there's the AI revolution and trying to figure out what that all means. We have challenges in our politics, we have polarization, there's wars all over the place, and of course, we have all sorts of environmental challenges that we're facing. And yet, I saw this meme a friend sent me that said, "Get in, loser. We're finding joy despite the fall of democracy." So, whether or not you believe that that is where we are, the reality is that I am finding myself being more and more fiercely drawn to the idea that we have got to be connected and try to find some joy on this journey. And so, my invitation to you for the short while that we're together is an invitation into presence. I love this quote that says, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity." And I know we live in a time when we've got our phones and we've got all sorts of other things that distract us. But just for a little while, I'm going to invite you into some presence. And so, what that means for me, and this is where David and I forgot to talk about this. And that is, I want to break you off into two groups. And actually, I think we're small enough, David, that we could just do it as a main group.
Sure.
No, let's do it as pairs.
No
Do you know how
problem.
to do breakouts?
I sure do. There's seven of us, though. So one group will have three people.
That's perfect. And here's what I'm going to invite you to share: your name, And the place you call home, that doesn't mean where you live. It could be where you grew up. It could be the place you feel most at home when you're there. And then who are you? Just two roles. It could be mother, it could be friend, it could be singer, it could be dance, whatever that is, and why that is important to you. And then I want you to describe a time when you've experienced civic joy. Now, here's the thing. You only have 2 minutes per person. You're going to be, so my group of three, you're going to have to go even a little bit faster, but you'll have 2 minutes per person uninterrupted just quickly have a little bit of connection. And so, David, whenever you're ready to do that, so your name, the place you call home, two roles that are important to you and why, and then a time when you've experienced civic joy. And then we'll come back together and we'll keep exploring this idea of joy.
Perfect.
So I hope that that was just a quick moment of connection before I get into the content. And so I'm going to share my screen again. Or am I already sharing it? No.
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to keep us moving and do a moment of grounding, if that's okay with you. So, are you all seeing my slides of grounding? Okay. So, here's my invitation. I'm going to ask you to put your feet flat on the ground if you're able to do that. I'm going to ask you to take 2 deep breaths. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a minute and just imagine with me. So, all of us have an origin story. We've been told about how our ancestors came to America and or the country of our origin. And many of us knew our grandparents, maybe our great grandparents, but I am going to invite you for a minute to think about your great great grandparents, whom I'm assuming you never met. I want you to think about their life. We're assuming that would have been maybe around the early 1800s, maybe mid 1800s. And I want you to think about the types of life that they had to encounter, the hardships. I want you to think about whether there was a political or social context. Um, I want you to think about their economic status. And I especially want you to think about your great grandmother and maybe the options that were open to her at that time or not. And I want you for a minute to think if you could have a conversation with your great grandparents about what they would say to you, looking ahead at the times that we live in. And I want you to think about maybe one word as they would look at that screen that I showed of the challenges we're having with our politics, the challenges we're having with our natural world, the animosity, the barriers that folks are experiencing, the division, the divisiveness, polarization. I just want you to think of one word that they would say to you to give you strength. And then I want you to really think out of the box here. And I want you to think about people that you're going to influence for the future. If you have children, maybe these are your great great grandchildren. If you don't have children, maybe these are nieces, nephews, other young people in your life that you've maybe taught as a teacher. And I want you to think about maybe what they would say they wish you had done at this time, knowing all those things that were happening. But more importantly, I want you to think of the one word that they would say to you to give you strength to make it through each day. What's the one word that they would say that they hope that you are holding on to in order to make it? And I'm going to invite you to open your eyes and feel free to unmute and share with us any of the words that you envisioned as you thought about this idea of talking to ancestors or talking to future people. Any words that you heard that they would say to you
I'm
to give
happy
you.
to go first.
Okay, David.
First off, I love the exercise. Thank you. The great grandparents were saying blessing, like,
Mm,
and the great grandchildren were saying courage.
mm, that's great. Other
Um,
folks.
yeah, I'll go real quick. My message from my great greats would have maybe been slow down because I
Mm,
find that, and two, I find that if you kind of slow things down when there's something going on, it helps to alleviate some of the stress maybe that's happening, if you can. And then I couldn't think of a word for my future because it brought tears to my eyes.
mm. Thanks, Mary. Anyone else want to share the words that you felt that you would hear?
I, from the past, I heard the words resilience and courage, and from the future, perseverance.
Mm, thanks, Catherine. Anyone else?
Along those lines, I thought of the word persistence, especially from future. It's like a word me and my nieces always joke about because I read them a book that was way above their age range when they were
Mm,
babies, all about being persistent.
I love that. Anyone else?
I'll go from the great greats was I don't it's not one word, but it's stand up. I'm going back to that hymn, I Ain't No Ways Tired, because that was the story of my great greats, and I know a great deal about who they were and what their lives
Mm,
were like. In the future, my concern is the deep amount of pain that could be in front of us. So I don't know what that word is.
mm. All right. Well, all right. Thank you all for reflecting in that way. I like to do that as a grounding. I actually experienced that through the Democracy and Belonging Forum through the Othering and Belonging Institute, if you're not familiar with their work out in Berkeley, who have summarized sort of the real challenge of our age as othering and belonging. This comes down to we're either othering or we're belonging or we're building or we're breaking. All right, so I'll move us on. I am assuming you're seeing my slides again. Did you see them? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so this is this next segment. I'm going to tell you. So why am I choosing this concept of joy? And these are two of my reasons, and it kind of goes back to our exercise we just did in grounding. And so this is my father, my 85-year-old father, who lives with me now. He's a veteran. He grew up in Ohio. He was a union man, very involved in his church, and sometimes it's hard for me to step back and realize like some of the struggles in our nation where we've othered, he experienced them. Like this is in his lifetime, right? That he couldn't go certain places, couldn't sit certain places, couldn't. And you'll never meet anybody who loves his country more. You'll never meet anybody who loves his neighbors more. You'll never meet anybody who has more hope and more love in his life. And that is because of what I'll talk about in a few minutes about what real joy and hope is. On the other side is my great nephew who was born this summer, who we call him PJ. It's Philip Jamar, and that's another reason why, as we thought about the future and these folks that will be seeing how we showed up in this moment, I need him to know that nothing was going to make me hate, nothing was going to make me break, and nothing was going to make me choose a world that was going to be more hurtful and more harmful for him. And so that's part of why joy for me is the choice. Another reason is I grew up in this small town. Linda gets to know a little bit about this. I shared what home is for me. It's called Jefferson Township. It was population 7,000 in Ohio. It was predominantly Black working class place. And it had been created because folks had been redlined, if you know anything about that policy, out of the city of Dayton, and were invited into a German community that had been a farming community, and all their young folks had left. And they had these three schools, and they wanted it, and so they welcomed us in. And I actually lived in one of the neighborhoods that still had several German families in the 70s. And so it was a place of Jefferson Township days and picnics and joy and graduations. And we all lived on, 5, 6 acres or more, and cows and pigs and all of that. And I know it's possible that people can pull towards each other and connect in a way of love and of joy, despite challenges, despite things outside of them where people have defined them differently or have lower expectations of them. So I believe it's possible. And my other why is my background is in my early part of my career. I worked for an organization called Coro, and I ran the community programs where I would be out in under-resourced, low-wealth communities that were coming, many out of the crack epidemic that had really decimated or destroyed community. And when I came into those communities, I would be embedded with contracts, with programs, weed and seed, and other things for 6 weeks to 9 months. And whether I was dealing with young men who had been in the justice system, or whether I was dealing with seniors or whoever I was dealing with, we found places for joy. We found places to connect, and we found places to serve. After that, I worked in an interfaith service organization where I brought together Jews, Christians, Baha'is, Muslims, and this was after 9/11. And again, the differences that we were dealing with, the challenges to some of those communities, this is very blurry because these pictures are very old. We still found a place for joy despite our differences and despite our challenges. So I know this is possible. And so some of the things you'll see were inspired. Chad Littlefield, I'll share some resources he shared, Citizen University, and then the Othering and Belonging Institute. And then some of them are just we developed on our own here. So civic culture is the set of norms, values, narratives, habits, and rituals that shape how we come together and how we govern. We live together and govern ourselves in our diverse democratic society. I don't know if you all have seen this report. I love it so much. The habits of hearts and mind, heart and mind, how to fortify civic culture. It was produced last year, and I've been using it as a guide to the work we're doing here in North Carolina. And it also says civic culture is how we treat one another, whether we care for our community, how we show up to solve common problems, and whether we're able to disagree without hating one another. But those habits of the heart, those are those norms, those customs, those mores, those habits, they have to be emotional and intellectual, right? This is heart and mind work. And so they define two of the practices that are necessary to fortify civic culture, one being civic joy, a commitment to creative possibility in the face of pain and struggle, and civic love. Sorry, that went away. Let me get it back. You can see the definition. It's not cooperating with me. Let's go. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, it went away. All right, so I will
We saw
have
it for
to.
a millisecond.
I know. I'm going to read it to you. All right. So civic love is, see if I tag that definition. I'm going to go out and stop my share and I'm going to read it to you because I think it's important. All right. So civic love, which is not a term that we use a lot in our public community events. And I've started to use it all the time here. It's the bond of trust and affection that turns strangers into neighbors and place into home. Which I think is an interesting way to think about it, that it's got this, it's what kind of makes a place a home. So I will go back to my presentation. And I'm going to spend a minute here after I talk about joy to what is necessary in order to get us there. And so I love this quote from Toy Derricott: "Joy is an act of resistance." And Audre Lorde takes this idea further and talks about the sharing of joy, whether it's physical, emotional, psychic, or intellectual, forms a bridge between the sharers. For once we begin to feel deeply all the aspects of our lives, we begin to demand from ourselves and from all our lives' pursuits that they feel in accordance with that joy, which we know ourselves to be capable of, right? So when we see that there's pain and struggle, joy is one of the things that actually pushes us to say, we can do better, we can transform this together. But whenever I'm talking about joy, I always have to pair it with the concept of hope. And we had Steve Grande come and talk to us at one of our events this summer. And he's doing a lot of work around this idea that we talk a lot about hope, but these are rough times for many people, and especially in our country, rough times for our democracy. So there's a difference between sort of hope, which I'll talk about in a minute, and civic hope and authentic hope. So this authentic hope says there are challenges. Some of them seem insurmountable, but we're going to respond to bolster a sense of individual agency while promoting social cohesion, right? What can each of us do in partnership with others? We're going to incorporate unflinching honesty about the overwhelming odds, right? Things, this is not going to be easy to rebuild what we've broken and or that never existed in many ways. It also takes an asset-based approach to individuals and communities, right? We have within us the ability to do better, to build a different world. And if we're going to come to this from a completely negative, it's all broken, and not see the assets we all have, we're not going to be able to overcome it. But it also very much has to have reflection and meaning making of our experiences and understanding all the systems, power structures, and the social dynamics. And I just love this idea that, like, I think sometimes, and he talks about there's these notions that they call hope traps. And there's the hopium. Oh, things always get better. Things are going to get better. And it's, it's like an opioid. Like, oh, let's just ignore everything that's happening and just have hope. No. It's also not demagogy, right? Or demagogy, however you want to talk about it. And I have personally been guilty of this, of just sending all the doom stuff to the people that I know think the way that I do, or, and doing it, really carelessly, right? Spreading doom and gloom to others, and nihilism and powerlessness, right? So one of the examples they give is like, what about the refugee crisis? Well, I can't stop that. What can I do about the crisis sitting here in North Carolina? Well, I can raise awareness. I can do all, when we get into the doom and the hope, then we don't see our own agency and ability to do something about it. And then there's the false hope, right? That I know the answer. It's this one thing. If we could just do this one thing, someone in office, or we could do this, and then that's the answer, and everything's going to work out. And then when that doesn't work out, then we feel like it's all hopeless again. And then the last one is the perfectionistic thinking, and that is, the idea that there's one outcome. Right? Like if this would just happen, then everything would fall into place. And so authentic hope says, let's be realistic. Let's recognize, the challenges and be honest about them. But let's recognize that we've got what we need to be able to overcome this. And honestly, if you don't have that level of hope, then you're not going to have joy. And I've had people push back on me, right? Joy. What do we need joy for? Like, look at the world around us. And I think you've got to have hope. And so hope is being, I don't know why that music's playing. Hope is being able to see that there's light despite all the darkness, says Desmond Tutu. So I'm going to invite you all to show us some light. This week was the first week of fall. So if you could look in your phone, I know you've got your phone near you, so don't even, and if you don't, good for you if you put your phone away for this. I'm going to invite you to scroll in your phone and show us one fun picture from your summer. And so what you'll do is you'll look on your phone at your pictures and you'll click on this QR code and add it to this folder. And if you can't do it, that's no problem. But just if you are able, I'm going to give you 1 minute to
Leslie, it's
scroll in your
asking
phone.
for a password or to sign in. Is that
There
normal?
shouldn't be, but if it does ask you, just override it and it should still let you in because it's an open folder where anybody should be able to add. And if we can't make it work, we will move on. But I'm going to show this at the end of our time together. All right, I'll give you 30 more seconds. And if you're able to find the picture and upload it, then we'll show it at the very end. I've got a few more slides. All right, I'm going to move on. But this is also one of the tools that I use. All right, are you all able to see this? Are you hearing this?
I don't hear it, but we see it.
Okay, let's stop. All right, I'm going to turn on my volume so that you can hear this. But I want to show you a recent event that we had where we tried to spark some joy. Civic Health Summit participant.
We love that North Carolina love. Tables filled with banana pudding and fried chicken that Granny cooked for a big family. Tobacco smoke, barn quilts, and fall hikes. From the mountains to the beach, those rivers and creeks and sights that make us sigh. We love those thick country accents in a back road gas station and that Carolina barbecue. We love most of the weather. Yes, we love that North Carolina love. The reflexive friendliness among a melting pot of cultures. Awesome neighbors that just keep on being the nice people that they are. Yes, we love that North Carolina love. The small towns and local heart, the food, music, and art, the Tar Heel state, the real hoop state. Yes, we love that North Carolina love, where we embrace the unexpectedness of what may come, where the strong grow great and the great grow strong. We love that North Carolina love.
All right, so that's just one example of an event that we had this summer where we brought folks together to talk about civic health in North Carolina. So for the next couple of slides, I'm just going to talk to you about if any of you run events or do things related to civic engagement. I am going to offer you the ways that we try to spark civic joy. And so, one of the things that we often do is before the event, we invite people to send in some of their favorite songs that are about citizenship or about joy, about love. And we put together a Spotify music list that we play during the event. We also, before the event, have been known to, and recently did that this summer, is to invite people. Our topic was hope, and we invited people to send us pictures that give them hope and quotes that give them hope. So that's what you'll see on the left side of the screen. And so, what my team did is we cut up those pictures, we put those quotes on pieces of paper, and we pasted them up on the wall. And we created a museum exhibit, the Hope exhibit that the people had co-created. And during the event, we actually paused and had people come and look at the things that they had created. And then, of course, what you just saw was what we asked folks to do for our Civic Health Summit, and that was to send in their photos for a photo contest, and we created the slideshow that you just saw in that video. So the people, before they even came, were part of creating the experience. Another thing that is key, and I hope you all have recognized this in any events that you are hosting, and that is the moment that people walk in the door is the moment of transformation. That's when people come in and see the smiling faces, and we're obsessed with like welcome signs and greetings and passing out whatever we're going to pass out. But that when the moment that they walk in, that they feel welcome and that they feel joy. And then there's, of course, the connection before content that I was doing earlier. And so we always, before we do anything, are getting people together to talk to people that they don't know in the room. We also, and you probably have seen this a million times, and that is we always, almost always have a bingo sheet. And so we're asking people to go find somebody who you have something in common with, and those people have to sign that sheet. We've also been doing something recently, you'll see on the right, that Summit Spirit Cup Bingo. And that card we've enjoyed, and we're going to start doing that more in the future. And that is creating a bingo card for people to engage during the day or during the event. Find yourself laughing with joy, you get a mark. Put your phone away and only bring it out during your break. Enter a door prize drawing, visit the resource table, all those sorts of things. And so it's a way to make people be intentional about meeting other people, but also engaging with whatever you've got going on. We also are really big on competition, recognition, and giveaway. So you see in the middle there, when we have our student voter summit, when we bring students from across the state to prepare for the election, and we do this for every election, local, municipal, the general, the midterm. And you'll see all it was these two little, I think they were, someone got it from a lamp, two lampshades, and then put some wrap around, and some disco balls from the dollar store. When I tell you, these students are so excited to get this Spirit Award, and it's who came in with the most energy, maybe wore shirts that represent their organization or their group. This year, we put some lights around it. And so we are always trying to find just really cheap but meaningful ways. And then, of course, they got a little certificate, the group that won. We also are really big on giveaways. So that is people donate items for people to have different organizations, and we love to give out stickers. So I choose hope, I spread civic joy, and then I don't know if you all can see this, but we have really been big on rock, paper, scissors Olympics. And we find it is something that adults love to do. So you start with a pair, and then if that pair wins, you become their cheerleader and you walk with them to the next pair winner. And then you keep going until you get down to the final two. And then you're down to two people, and then, whatever you want to give them, a cup or something, they win that. We also have these spirit awards that we give throughout the day. And you can go, if you shop at Amazon, I think they're $20 for like 50. And they're those little plastic buttons. I don't know if you all remember how you can make those, and you just print out the insert and then it snaps together and they can put the pen on. And so we think of all the different creative ways we can honor people throughout the day. So I'll ask, who's the oldest person in the room? If people are willing to share that, or who's lived here the longest, and they get the Rooted Citizen Award. Then we find the youngest person. They're the blossoming citizen. And then the person that drove the furthest is our civic road warrior. And then the person who came first is our civic early bird award winner. And then that's a picture below of all the winners when we had folks from our campuses who lead community and civic engagement and democracy work, who were the spirit winners throughout the day. And then this idea I also get from Chad Littlefield, and that's that anytime you're having an event, the goal is contribution and not consumption. So, what are the different things that you're doing to get people to engage and share their own ideas? And so, you'll see there on the left, we just have some post-it notes, get them from the dollar store, and put up a block sheet of paper and say, what are your ideas to spark civic joy? In the middle, we've got a poster board. We ask students at our Student Voter Summit, why do they vote? We ask things like, to me, community means, and have people engage. You heard the video from when we asked people, what did they love about North Carolina? And then what did they love about civic and community engagement? We have these little boards, the whiteboards you can get from the dollar store. And we asked students at our student conference, what is their passion? Everything from sex trafficking to political corruption. We asked them to take a picture of it. We like to use art and have people brainstorm together, lots of brainstorming. So when we were asking people about the future, how can they imagine a civically healthy North Carolina? We had them use art as well as brainstorming, and then we posted their artwork. And then this is a video of us singing Lean on Me. And you can see there's some people who embraced it, some people who didn't. But for my first 4 years out of college, I had the honor of working with a woman named Dr. Bernice Johnson Regan, who had founded the Freedom Singers during the Civil Rights Movement. And the way that she talked about the power of music to give people strength and courage to face the challenges and to go out and protest was really remarkable. She also started the singing group Sweet Honey in the Rock. But I'm trying to more and more get adults in a room who are willing to sing, and there's a little bit of pushback on it. I don't know if you all have been seeing these posters that you can order online, and you can get them customized to say what you want. And so the one, to be rather than seem, is North Carolina's state motto. So we put that out at our Civic Health Summit. Hope is one of them. The kids that you see up at the top, we got one that said, we the people. And our goal is to take it to each of our events and have people color it. So we're co-creating it together. I've got a few more slides here, and then I'll stop for you to have some questions. At our Citizen Redefined camp, where we bring students together for a summer camp to think about their role as citizens in a democracy, we have them do posters and cutting things out and just co-creating through art. And then we do things with Play-Doh. So what you'll see here is images of what hope looks like to people. Very interesting. You see a lot of hearts, but you see some things you don't know what they mean. But and then we put them out as a we call it our clay garden, and then people can go and look at it throughout the day. And then, of course, we like to play games. And so at our camp, I use a lot of the Theater of the Oppressed. If you all are familiar with them, they have books. I'm trained in how to lead folks through that, but the books can give you ideas for games people can play that are meaningful about power and other things. And some additional ways is sometimes we'll print out a little sign where people can write why they care about something. So this one at the bottom, I care about North Carolina civic health. And then we have pictures of that. We like to get things from the dollar store, like the little clappers. And we've started to always put out fidget toys. You can buy a box of them and you just clean them each time, because we find that people pay better attention when they're able to do something with their hands. We always have a photo booth. I was able to get these little stickers where people can say, nice job, kudos, and just hand that to somebody at the event. They don't have to say anything about it, but just if it's sitting at their table and if someone made a comment or something, they just give it to them to spark some joy. And then food. Food will always spark joy. And then we do lots of photos and photo booths, and we buy all those little things from the dollar store, the little beads and glasses and little hats people can use. And then there's some other tools that I'm just going to commend to you if you're doing events. And that is in South Carolina, there's an organization called My Neighbor's Voice that has these really powerful cards that can quickly get a group of people to connect with the questions on it. And then the We Connect cards also are just a quick, easy way to get folks to connect. And in the middle there, you'll see we often use stress balls, like a brain one. What are you thinking about? A heart one. What are you feeling? A smiley face. What's bringing you joy? And then another way to do that is to just, we have these American flag bean bags that at the end of an event, we'll throw it around and just say, what are you gonna do, be, or uh, take with you? And then the last thing I'll say is at our last event, we finally started to say, we need a little bit of self-care. It's rough out there. And so we asked the people that were coming to the event if anybody had any gifts, self-care talents they could share. And we had a woman who did chair yoga for folks. We had someone who does comic strip writing and the people that wanted to go do that. We had someone who teaches Zumba. We had someone who helps people write haikus. And so she helped them write haikus about joy and hope. And then we had someone teach us how to juggle. I was in the juggling group. Turns out that's not a good area for me to be in. I am utterly uncoordinated. And then we just invited people to just walk around the room and or go outside and just reflect. And so these are some videos. You'll see me trying to juggle there at the bottom. It's very unfortunate. And then post-event things that we do. So at one of our events, I asked our connection before content was what was your first concert? And what was a song, your favorite song from that they had to put on a post-it note? I took those post-it notes and I made a song list of summer network meeting jams and sent those to people so they could listen to what other people are listening to. And then, always follow up with what next action folks can take. And if you're doing this virtually, there's lots of tools like Mentimeter where you can do trivia, Miro boards, wheels of names where you can spin for winners, the Spotify playlist, Canva. And then the last thing I'll share is that we have just launched a journal, and our first edition is going to be on sustaining civic joy in challenging times. And we're inviting people from communities, community groups, neighbors, scholars to submit. And so let's see if anybody uploaded any photos in our Civic Joy folder, and I will show you those, and then I'm done.
Embarrassingly, I couldn't figure out how to get it done.
Oh no, I may not,
I tried.
maybe nobody could. Let's see. Maybe not. Let's see.
Well,
Civic
while you're
Joy.
looking, I just want to say this was like 3 times as much as what I was hoping for, and it was just amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna have to. Good thing we recorded it because I'm gonna have to watch it again. I took so many notes and got so many ideas, and it's just very exciting and inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. And again, my hope is just to remind people the importance of joy in the midst of all of it. So in the Black church tradition that I grew up in, there was a song called "I Still Have Joy." After all the things I've been through, I still have joy. And so growing up with that knowledge of no matter what's happening around us, part of our resistance to the people that want to divide us or our country is to say, what you're not going to take away is me leaning into the richness and fullness of life. Because there's beauty. There's beauty.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have time for just a few questions before we wrap
I
up?
do.
Oh, that'd be
Sure.
great. I have questions, but I want to defer to others who are here who have questions first.
This
I
is
would
very
say,
quick.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You can go ahead and then we'll go to Mary.
This is very quick. Leslie, thank you so very much. Are you available to share contact information? Because I would love to follow up.
I am, and it was on that final slide that after I found the pictures I was going to put on there. But David, are
All
you going to
right.
send that
Yeah.
out, or you want me to put it in the chat?
I'm happy to connect the two of you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Christine was sharing some stuff at a meeting yesterday that's pretty interesting, which we're going to have to dig into at a future session. So, Mary, did you have a question too?
Well, Leslie, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. And I wanted to know, will you share your slides as well? Can we get slides and
I'm happy to do that. Mhm.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I could send that out with the video. So, anyone else?
Thank you for coming and sharing your time with us. It was very enlightening. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
So I have two questions. One was in the beginning, you shared a slide presence, and it was just beautiful. Was that something someone local designed or something you found elsewhere? Or
Yeah, so I saw the quote somewhere years ago and have always been trying to, every event that I host these days, when I look around, I find myself, or I was finding myself discouraged by how many people were looking down at their phone. Even when we would take pictures of the event, and that isn't judgment, right? It's very possible they're a caregiver. It's very possible they were looking a quote up that someone said or whatever. And so I just decided it was an invitation. Like this could be an opportunity for you to just give this gift to the rest of us and just be with us, be present with us. And so when I saw that quote, I just loved it and thought, well, maybe if I just make it invitational, and I love to see that some people actually will put their phone away after I say it. They're like, oh, because
yeah,
you know what, we don't honor, we don't. If I choose to come into a space, then I made a choice, right? But it's too easy for me to sort of let everything around me distract me and just pull my phone out. And so sometimes we just have to be reminded, like, I need this gift also of connection. And so this opportunity for presence is for goes both ways.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so many of those quotes are great. I'm glad you are willing to share the slides because I can't write that fast. And there was a lot of really great, inspiring stuff. And we're doing an event in a couple weeks in Pomona, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of all the possibilities that we could add into this. And our goal is to do more events like that here in California, or connect with other people who are doing those events and spread these ideas. So thanks for giving us so much inspiration. So.
Absolutely. So is that your second question?
Oh, I think I asked two or three already, but the other one was you asked us to think of our word for our great great grandparent and our descendants. I'm wondering what your two words were that came up when you first did it.
Yeah, for me, when I first did it, both of them told me hope,
Oh, awesome.
right? Just to hold on to hope, regardless. And sorry, I had a personal summer there, so I do have a tank top on if it looks. I took my jacket off, everyone.
I also believe in civic comfort.
Yes.
Any last questions from anyone? All right.
Well,
Well,
thank you for this
thank you,
opportunity.
Leslie. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. And I'm grateful that we recorded because I know so many other people who I want to see this. So
Oh, let me show you my last slide.
please,
Is sorry. Oh, now we're on a different screen. Let me get rid of that.
no problem.
It's a quote from Eric Liu, who, if any of you aren't familiar with him and the work he does at Citizen University, I commend you to it. It's very important what he's doing in the world. And so he says, when you join, you participate, when you learn what's going on in your community, that actually is purpose giving. It is joyful and it makes you feel alive. And so I thank you all for joining and being connected in this way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
thank you.
everyone.
Have a
Bye.